Hey Shane, how's it going?
It's going great, Pug. How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's a joy to be here in lovely Fort Worth, Texas.
It is Texas.
We're in Texas, in Fort Worth, in the stockyards.
He's drunk. Play us a song, Pug.
All right, all right. Last call with apologies to Mr. Terry Allen. I've been watching me, watching you all night long. Waiting for a chance to ask you to dance if they'd play the right song. But it's almost closing time, I'd hate to spend mine alone. Would it be indecent to ask you how recent you let someone new take you home? Get out of your head, get into my truck. I know a nice spot where we can go suck on some Dos Equis beer. Maybe an ear or toe. I know that sounded kinky, but don't you think we should see how far this thing goes? They've turned on the lights, there's already 2 fights outside. And I hate to beg, but my leg ain't as soft as my pride. In a minute or two, we'll see red and blues, and I might have a warrant or 3. So shouldn't we go slipping before they come sniffing and ruin your chances with me? Get out of your head, get into my truck. Just jiggle the handle, sometimes it gets stuck. Won't you climb up in here? Would you like a beer for the road? Before we get started, would you be a darling? Give my breathalyzer a blow. Get out of your head, get into my truck. I know a nice spot where we can go suck on some Dos Equis beer. Maybe an ear or toe. You say you don't like tried it, then I say we don't really know.
Very, very nice. The great Pug Johnson joining us. And first of all, huge props for even knowing who Terry Allen is.
Right, man.
I've had that conversation with so many artists, and they're like, who?
Yeah.
And that's a crime, honestly.
And I will admit that he is a more recent influence on me than most of my influences. I found Terry probably 5 years ago with, first I found the Lubbock on Everything album.
Oh, yeah.
Amarillo Highway. I was like, what? This is great.
Right.
And then Mindy and I were on a road trip about 3 years ago, and I was like, hey, this is a great time. I'm in the mood to listen. You find some new stuff. And so I pulled Terry up, and I was like, well, I'm going to go back to the first album here and check this out. And man, that Juarez album, it was like, where has this been my whole life? And why is nobody talking about this? Because this is still such a great album.
It's iconic. It really
It is
is.
so good.
But you got to hear it.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing, and that's what's cool about you is I can tell you're a music fan.
Yeah.
Not
very
only
much
is it
so.
what you do for a living, you're a fan of it, so you're going out and hunting down guys like that.
Yes, sir.
That is very cool. So Terry Allen's become a new influence for you. Who's some of your other influences?
Oh, Billy Joe, of course, is
Yeah.
the number. I mean, that's the guy that made me want to do this.
Is it really?
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had an uncle and an aunt that lived up in the Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 12 or 13 or so, and I went to visit them, and I was already like really, really big into Waylon.
Mm-hmm.
I got into Waylon shortly after he passed. I heard Bob Wills is
Still the king.
yep.
Yeah.
Heard that on the radio, and I was like, Dad, who is this? what is this? So anyway, went to visit my aunt and my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, hey, if you're into Waylon, have you heard of this guy? And I was like, no, I haven't.
He
And
wrote an entire album. Yeah.
so he started telling me, all about Billy Joe's story and everything,
Mhm.
and so it was that that week of a trip that I was up there with him that I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be a songwriter and do what Billy Joe Shaver did.
So it was 1 week that basically changed your entire direction in your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
How wild is that?
Then after that, every time my aunt would come down to see my grandparents, because they lived right next door to us, she would bring a stack of CDs that my uncle had burned, and it was Guy Clark and John Prine and Townes Van Zandt and then stuff like Jack Ingram
Mm-hmm.
and 1100 Springs and like all the Texas stuff that we just didn't have down in Beaumont. There
There wasn't like a station.
wasn't
playing
an
it yet,
outlet,
Yeah.
at least not yet that I was aware of. We eventually had a Saturday night show
Mm-hmm.
that would
It's
air
usually
for
where
3
it
or
starts
4
for
hours,
most stations. Yeah.
and by that point I was hooked on it. So I made sure every Saturday night I was tuned in, and I would,
Basically taking notes.
catching all the ragweed and the Phil
Right.
Pritchett and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Man, I miss the burned CDs. Like somebody can say, hey, go listen to my Spotify list. It's not as personal as somebody taking the time to pick, like, this is my favorite song. And then you got to hear this one next and then this one. Like,
Mhm.
those are cool moments that only music can create. It's so wild that people get so attached to songs and music that they want to share that and make, like, this is me on a CD.
Yes, sir. And that was going to a small town, very tiny high school. That was how a lot of us, learned about different kind of music. And
Mhm.
somebody would burn a CD, and then it would be kind of like a playlist, but that
Mhm.
CD would get passed around and copies would get made
Oh, yeah.
of it.
It was high school Napster,
Mhm.
but it was.
Absolutely. But like you wound up with, artists that, were never going to come through our part of Texas,
Right.
and we were huge fans.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, my wife always tells the story that she got introduced in college to a guy that shared a CD with her, and it had, Roger Krager and Pat Green and Corey Morrow and all that, and so she still remembers, like, to this day, when we play a song here on the radio and she listens to it, she goes, oh yeah, that was on that CD.
Mhm.
Like, that makes such an impact in people's lives. Like, I wish we could bring that back.
Yeah, that kind of community rallying and sharing around some, it's like, this is ours.
Right.
This
Like,
is our thing.
There's a pride in it. There
Mhm.
really is. I wish we had more of that today.
Yes, sir.
I really do. So since we talked last, it's been almost a year ago, you released a new album,
I did. Yeah. It's
El Cabron.
I think I had it recorded last
Yeah.
time we talked.
Yeah.
And we were just having to sit on it.
You were waiting, yes.
Yeah, and so and it's finally out, and so
You let your baby out into the wild.
I did.
How's
And
it going so far?
it's doing great for me. It's doing great. I think by other people's standards, it might not be doing so great. I don't know. But no, to me, it is got a lot of really good press.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's upped our stream count
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit. Um, so yeah, I'm extremely proud of it.
I've heard more people talk about Pug Johnson since this last album.
Really
So yeah, like
awesome.
it's making an impact. I think in the right circles.
Good.
At
Hopefully
least
they're
people I
saying
talk to, which I hope are the right circles.
good
yeah.
things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're talking about you, Pug, and that's all that matters.
You hear what this
You
guy
hear
is
this guy?
doing? I think he's special.
Oh, you are special. That's okay. Last calls with apologies to Terry Allen. Great tune. Sucking on toes. What the hell? That sounds like a funny Terry Allen kind of
Yes.
line.
Sucking on toes. You
That
never
is-
suck toes?
No, I've seen my feet. It scares the hell out of me.
Oh man, you gotta suck a toe every once in a while. Drives them crazy. No,
I don't know if I want to go down this road now, though. I exited the
No,
expressway and I'm wanting to reverse.
so I advise people go listen to the Terry Allen Juarez album. I'm not gonna give away
Yeah.
what or why I put with apologies to Terry Allen, but the fact that I say maybe an ear or a toe
Yeah.
is probably part of the apology. You know, like, hey man, I know you wrote something like really artsy and well done.
Yeah.
You know, very well crafted, and I come along
And butcher it, or what did you do?
and I stole a piece of it,
Right.
and then I did something else with it, and so
But
he-
you apologize. And
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
yeah,
in
he'll
today's day and
probably
age.
hate it. It was meant to be, you know, a tip of the hat. Even the putting it, you know, in parentheses.
Right.
It's a very Terry Allen thing to do.
Absolutely.
Um,
It's
and
a
so-
Terry Allen thing to have a title that doesn't fit on my computer screen.
exactly.
That's the whole thing. So it works perfect. It
Yeah.
works perfect.
But yeah, if people want to know like what exactly in that song, like why I'm apologizing, go and listen to the Juarez album.
They need
I'm
to
not
listen
gonna
to it
tell 'em
anyways.
What exactly?
Yeah.
And that's my point.
Good
Go-
job, man.
Go listen to it because you should have heard it already anyway, but now you gotta, you know, yeah, it's like you're giving somebody a treasure map versus giving them, you know, the treasure.
Right. It's more fun. The journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this album is kind of a little bit of a change for you sound-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Why the change? Just
Well,
who you are now?
well, I mean, it's trying to branch out into all the different different influences that we have down in Beaumont. Because
Mhm.
it's such a cultural hodgepodge.
I bet
down
it
there.
is, yeah.
You know, we get all the Cajun influence, you
Mhm.
know, a lot of Mexican influence as
Mhm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course, you know, all the Texas, you know, music influence.
Yeah.
And it kind of marks the physical transition that Mindy and I made from moving from Beaumont over to the Hill Country. So, like I mean, I kind of felt like from the first album to the second, you see a shift west
Yeah, you do.
with the sound.
With
and
the
that's-
sound, yeah.
And that kind of mirrors what we did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, still part of just trying to, and I think I'm gonna do the same thing with the next one. I'll,
Moving to Motown and
well, there's still like more, there's still more influences in that Beaumont area that I haven't touched on. yet,
really.
you know, or that I've only kind of given a sample of,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to dig a little deeper into. You know, all the, you know, the swamp pop and the Zydeco and stuff like that. I'd like to.
I'm sorry, did you say swamp pop?
Yeah.
I've never heard swamp pop.
You've never heard swamp pop?
No.
Look
I
up.
feel like I'm missing out now.
Look up. Boogie Kings.
Boogie Kings. Hang on, I gotta write this down. I ain't joking.
Yeah.
Swamp pop.
Gigi Shin. You know, sang with the Boogie Kings.
You are definitely a fan of music.
Yes, sir.
I love that about you, man. That's awesome.
And so what like swamp pop was it was basically these Cajuns and folks down in that area, western, southwest uh, Louisiana
Okay.
and
Okay.
southeast Texas, and they would take country songs and pop songs and R&B tunes, and they're doing like the big band type of thing with
Holy
it.
cow!
And so yeah, you find like killer bands.
I bet this is fun.
A lot of
yeah.
groove, insane voice, and you hear him like he's one of the only people that I've heard do what's that Otis Redding song? I was born by the river
I'm just gonna let you
in a
sing.
little old tent. Change is gonna come.
Yeah, yeah.
That like
Well, yeah,
it's not
that's
quite
not a
Otis.
song you should
It's not
cover
quite
if you
Otis,
can't cover,
but
yeah.
golly, it's pretty close.
I feel like Otis would give him a thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool, man. That is cool. So, speaking of this new album, there's a song on here, "Believer," that is unbelievable.
And
Like,
that's kind of pulling
it's-
from that swamp pop.
okay,
thing.
because that one to me's got a little Lucas Nelson, a little Leon Bridges kind of cool vibe about it as well. But this, I understand, is a very personal song for you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And that's cool.
It
And it's
took-
cool because your wife's last manager is sitting right here with us as well.
Yeah, she
Amazing lady.
puts up with me.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh, she's basically a saint, is what it is.
Yes,
Yeah, I know.
Right. They're gonna
Statues
canonize
erected.
her here in a year
Right.
or so.
As soon as we get a new pope, it's gonna happen.
the first Cajun saint,
Right.
Mindy Lee.
How y'all doing?
Yeah.
So tell us. I want to hear the story behind "Believer."
So this was written. We were still living in Beaumont.
Mm-hmm.
Mindy was still working for Big Oil and Gas.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells a story about how we met, and then that kind of first couple of years of us living
Mm-hmm.
together, and that young couple thing.
Kind of figuring
'Cause-
things out. Yeah.
Because Mindy and I kind of got forced into living together pretty early because of Harvey. One of,
Oh yeah.
one of the hurricanes
Mhm.
came through, and both of us lost where we were living.
Oh my gosh.
And so, because Mindy worked for Big Oil and Gas, she could afford to buy a house,
Mm-hmm.
and she let me come along.
Because you're a musician, you could not.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. I was like, well, I'm gonna find another couch to crash on.
Right.
And she was like, no, you can come and sleep with me. You don't have to sleep on the couch. You can
Right.
just stay with me. So.
What an amazing person right there. Holy
She-
cow.
right?
Golly.
Right. She didn't even make me sleep at the foot of the bed. She let me be in the bed like a human being.
Like a real human, like
yeah. Like
not
a real
dog
boy.
or
Yeah.
like a real life boy, Pinocchio. Well, I would love to hear you do this song acoustic.
Okay.
Would you mind?
It is a little absolutely. I've been getting better and better at playing this one solo, but it was absolutely written for the horn section. It
Absolutely.
was
Yeah,
like,
there's
from the get-go, I was like, I need something like that.
it's such a cool vibe when those horns first hit. It's like,
Man.
oh, yeah.
And the guys that we had, I mean, that whole band was great.
Mhm.
I cannot speak highly enough about those guys and the rest of the crew that worked, on this record. I just wrote some songs and kind of said, hey, this one's kind of a soul tune. This one is
Mhm.
kind of Tejano, and that was all the direction that these guys really kind of needed.
You're kidding
And they were all so great.
But that was fun to work with that.
It is,
Yeah.
man. It like quite a step up from where I was at with the first record. The Beaumont guys, are great musicians.
Great, absolutely.
But I mean, you go from guys that are doing it because they love doing it, and guys that no, this is how we pay our bills.
yeah.
The level of talent and the level of proficiency just goes way up.
It does. It absolutely does. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's it. So let's hear it. Believer, Pug
All
Johnson.
right, let's see here. I was just another stranger, but I was all that you said never mind the danger when you took my hand and my armor off of me. Told you about my reputation. You said my honesty was strange. And I felt a new sensation when you said my name. Ooh, call my name. And you, oh, you made me a believer. And you made me more than I could be. Darling, you made me a believer. And believing, baby, is good enough for me. I'm home is what you call out when you get here. And there's a long day mine. So I'll pour us a drink and we can think about tomorrow and leave it all behind. I never was a dreaming kind till you. Oh, you made me a believer. And you made me more than I could be. You made me a believer. And believing, baby, is good enough for me. I said believing, baby, is good enough for me.
God, it's such a great song,
Oh,
man. Ranch Studio, the new album El Cabron, badass. Is that not? Is that not your definition?
I've heard a handful of translations.
It's
and,
one of those words that means a lot of things.
Badass was not the translation that I had in mind.
Well, it works for you, man.
As we've been kind of going around, you know, we went and played some gigs with Midland down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Florida's much more
Humid?
more Cuban than Mexican.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
And so I learned that like their translation it was pretty close, but like slightly different.
Really?
You know, different
It
words
wasn't
that
like,
I don't.
Oh dear God,
I
what
don't
did
know
I
if
name
I
my
can
album?
say. Yeah.
Different.
No.
Okay.
It was like no. Okay, that still fits, but it just wasn't the exact. But I mean, I checked with multiple Spanish-speaking sources,
Right.
before I landed on it, and they all gave me. It was like, oh well, it's either this or this, and I was like, okay, cool. And then since we put it out, I've heard like 3 or 4 other possible meanings, and I'm like, okay, it all like works in the vein.
Yeah, my fear would be I'd do that, and these guys are like, oh, this will be funny. We'll tell them it means this.
Yeah.
It's like the tattoo artist when you get the Chinese tattoo, and a guy like, that just means feet. What is that?
Maybe he likes to suck a
They
toe.
may like Terry Allen, yeah. So the new album's El Cabron, Pug Johnson. You're out doing a radio tour now.
Yes, sir.
Dear
Yeah,
God.
you're our
I'm so
third stop,
I'm so sorry.
dude. Man, we're having a pretty good time. You know, so far.
Give it a minute.
Granted, this is day one.
Yeah,
so
give
yeah,
it a minute.
yeah, I'll call you back in a week and be like, buddy, you wasn't lying.
This was terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you got this really cool grassroots thing going on. I love that. People are talking about you. You're doing some really great stuff, man. Thank you so much for coming and chat with us today.
I can't thank you enough for actually having us. This is wonderful. Yeah, Mindy and I. It's always a joy to come up here to Fort Worth. You know, it's a wonderful place.
You can come live here anytime you want. We got
All
all
right.
kinds of places.
Maybe we will one day once we can afford it.
Right.
once that money finally starts coming in.
Right.
I think we've got the cheapest rent I've ever had right now, and
It's hard to pass that up.
Right.
Yeah, I completely understand. Thank you, Pug.
yes, sir. Thank you.